up guys, this is the GT4RS series finale and we are so stoked to show you it. Griffin and I have been working for months to set this video and track day up. More than it being our dream Porsche fanatic track day, we also wanted to make an awesome video for you guys and hopefully take a little part in living that dream out with us. We rented out Thunderhill Raceway for the entire day just to ourselves. Better than that, we brought 3 of the best Porsches you can drive on track today. A GT4, a GT4 RS, and a 992 GT3. We can't believe we got to do this entire day as work. We had so much fun setting this up and can't thank all the people who helped us enough. This was an absolutely epic day and we hope you guys enjoy this video as much as we did filming it. If you like this series and you want to see more like it, hit the like button, give us a comment on what you want to see next, and give us a subscribe if you haven't already.
This car is just so light and fun. Like every little input is easy, but you get a lot of feedback through the steering wheel because of the pretty aggressive track setup on this and the camber. Like it just kind of turns in. It's not GT3 sharp or tight, but it is really effective. Like this 440 horsepower at this point with the manual transmission is just so fun. It's never overwhelming. It's never boring. The shifts are fun. The clutch is amazing. It just like pulls you into each gear. So you're really just like interacting with the car a lot on the track, which is really fun, but it's not too much that the manual feels slower because you have to like manage too much while you're under a lot of pressure because of the power. And these brakes are probably the best brakes I've ever felt and ever will feel. These are the PFC Club Sport brakes, and oh god, they are like nice and bitey, but progressive. They have perfect feel. You get some feedback. They're a little squeaky, but they do the job so well. You can't ask for more. It's ridiculous. It is just like a dream to drive. It's almost like cheating. It's so fun. I wish it had more RPMs, but it's good. Oh man, it's good. I mean, you can really push this car in a turn like I am, and it's gonna slide a little bit, but it's so composed in the slide that it doesn't matter. Like, you can just throw it around. It's so easy, but so fun. It's not numb. All right, here we go. GT4 RS, second run of the day. Track is drying. That's a good sign. God, this GT4 RS is just so tight. Incredibly composed. You don't get the turn in that you get in the GT3, but it's still phenomenal. Incredibly stable under braking. Heavy braking. The pace of this car is just a whole nother level though. Oh my god. Overcooked that a bit. Wow. It's so composed in the slide. You know, unlike the GT3 that'll bite you as a novice driver, this just hugs you around the corners. You can absolutely thrash this car too in the dry. The RS, it's so manageable. It's so powerful, it's so fast, but it's so manageable. I can't even explain to you how fun this is. I'm just reaming these tires. Like, they are not hanging on. I'm just sliding, but I'm going so fast. And at no point am I uncomfortable. The nannies take care of everything. The car is so balanced that when you slide, it doesn't matter. Holy God. That high RPM band, 8 to 9. That's where you want to live on this track, and it's so rewarding. Oh God. All right, here we go. GT3 time. Oh my God. That's a massive difference coming through, I think it's 10. And those bumps where you cut the corner compared to the GT4s, this just absorbs them entirely. The grip in this car and the turn is fucking insane. Whoa, there we go, all right. The engine performance on these GT3s, just ridiculous. So consistent, sounds good. 9,000 RPM is just a thing of beauty. All right, so I'm following Chase. He's in the RS. I'm in the GT3, and we'll see if I can keep up with Chase. Oh God. This thing is a handful, but really nice. Awesome. He was keeping up with me in the GT3, but pretty even matchup. That was fun. We definitely weren't racing or anything. When I was following you in the GT3, I was keeping up. You were gapping me in some places, but ultimately I closed the gap. Yeah. Was able to stay on pace, except for I was so busy in the GT3. Yeah. Like I was working hard, trying to figure out, like there was just so much more to it. Yeah. Where when I was in the GT4 RS, I just felt like I was pushing, thrashing, and enjoying myself to get that time. You're pushing really hard in both cars, but for different reasons. Yeah. In the GT4 RS, you're pushing hard to maximize what you can get out of that platform. Yes. Right? In the GT3, you're pushing hard to manage that platform for us. Yeah, exactly. We both got lap times in the GT3 that were slightly worse than what we could pull off in the GT4 RS. Yeah. And that's with the GT4 RS on 300 treadwear tires and the GT3 on 80 treadwear tires. Yeah. So that is sort of fundamentally says a lot about more novice drivers being more comfortable and capable in a GT4, and then more advanced drivers really being able to wring out the highest capability of a GT3. On the track, the turn-in on the GT3 is amazing. It is unworldly. Yeah. Like there's nothing else like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are in professional race cars and stuff like that, but the double wishbone and everything, like it's magic. Like there's nothing else like it. And the rear wheel steering in that, I could absolutely feel that bringing the rear end around. Yeah. In an amazing way. Right. And the only issue that we had with that car was when you started to lose grip, we felt the rear end kind of snap out. In our errors of driving. Well, it was also wet at that time. So it was also wet. But that's a good example of like, you know, this is you losing control a little bit. And what does that feel like? In this, You get a little bit of a side slide.
In the
really
GT4 RS,
Yeah.
yeah, it's more of you start to feel the understeer in the front first, and then as the rear steps out, it kind of is a four-wheel slide for you.
Yeah.
And you can manage it so easily,
Just
even
a
for
little
novice
correct.
drivers. For a GT3, you basically can't allow yourself to get there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of time
Right.
fixing that mistake.
Yeah, you got to snap fast.
Yeah.
The rear wheel steer and the double wishbone together, but just the rear wheel steer, I'm sure it plays a big role in this. You spend less time turning and pointing yourself into the direction you want to exit the turn.
Yeah.
So it's just like whoop and then straight out, which
Yeah.
gives you such a better time when you can cut down the time that you're in the turn.
Basically, like more acute angles of turning
Right.
are capable in that GT3.
Right. Without having to cut the turn wrong. You
Yes.
just gentle turn,
Yes.
like emphasis on gentle, yet get so much out of it and point
Yeah.
you out of the turn.
Yeah.
Whereas you have to work really hard to get that
Yeah.
with like trail braking and stuff in
Yeah.
another car, in this car.
Yeah.
And that's like the big thing with this car is when you are trail braking, when you are kind of setting the back end into a turn, it feels really good. And the four-wheel steer kind of feels like that, except for the advantage is that you're not losing traction when you're doing that.
Right.
So that is
Exactly.
just clinically better.
Yeah. Which one did you have more fun
This one, because I was more confident.
in? Yeah. Same.
But I could see if I was more confident in the GT3, some of the things that it can do, I would be like,
That'd be tough.
this is really hard to beat.
That'd be tough.
Especially once you get used to all of the inputs and the
Yeah.
differences in weight distribution. And if you're more comfortable in it, then the manual would become a
More
really fun highlight of the
That would
car.
set it over the edge. At that point, you'd really be comparing the soundtrack of the GT4RS and the rawness of the GT4RS, almost the bigger challenge to push the car further versus the manual experience and the rear engine difficulty in the GT3.
Right.
We wanted to answer on the GT4, can you buy a GT4, put about 50 grand into it, and make it competitive with GT3s and
Yes.
GT4RSs?
Yeah.
Today, I think with what we've done, no, it's not quite competitive. Is it close? Yeah, it's pretty close. I think there's two things we need to do. So I think if you take the GT4 with how we have it set up, you add racing slicks on a dry day, and you add an aero kit, oversimplified, I do think it would be competitive. We don't have that answer today, though.
Right.
It's down on horsepower, and that is very apparent. The upgraded suspension and the track alignment, the shorter gears, the LSD, all of that performed really well today, and it's a super fun car. But it's not quite to the level of these with how we have it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say maybe you need 60, right?
I'm going to say 30 more and you get the demand 4.5 liter, and then it's a different story.
That is a
You're
different
going to
story.
need a big power upgrade.
Like if you're on the fence and you're trying to decide whether or not to spend $350,000 on a used GT4RS, because that's the going rate right now, or $150 on a used GT4 and put 50 into it for the money, I would really consider doing.
Yeah, and
the
you could
GT4.
probably do better on price on the GT4 now. I think you
Yeah.
get 130, 140.
But something we've been feeling all day is the factory build quality and the synchronization of all of those components that we were trying to make on the GT4. It'll never be close to the GT4RS.
Yes.
The GT4RS feels almost easy to drive with all of those upgrades over the GT4.
Right.
Whereas the GT4 that we upgraded feels like a kit car that is our baby, and we love driving, and it's super fun and playful. But you hear brake pads rattling, and sometimes the suspension components like
Yeah,
click,
but the
and,
best brakes on the planet, though. Those
they
things are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, I know it's and when we were going slow for the for some other laps, and I started to actually listen to the car,
yeah.
I was like, this is a lot of noise. This is a lot of
It's
things.
alive.
I'm like, are there 10 things broken in this car? But
It has a
broken.
personality.
Yeah.
It's not broken. It's
It's
just
not.
special.
It's just special.
Now here's what we learned today. The GT4, the GT3, and the GT4RS all have their own personalities. Despite their similarities, they do have major differences. The GT4 with its manual transmission, its 4-liter flat 6 that only revs to that measly 8K, nobody's complaining about that. It's so balanced, it's easy to push, and it's never overwhelming. It's truly as much as anyone would ever really need to rip around the track in the street, with no regrets on the price or disappointment in its performance, even if it's not as competitive as the other two. It's still faster than 95% of the cars on the track. Then the GT3, again a manual transmission, still has that fun factor, but it's got a much more robust engine. Revs to 9,000, has more power, more capabilities all around, wider tires, more downforce, and a lot more tech going into the suspension. It's a handful for a novice driver, but anyone that can feel that superiority can learn to use it. There's absolutely nothing out there like it, and it is the better machine all around, except when it comes to what the GT4 RS does so well. You can't beat the RS's sound. It uses this engine better, and the PDK helps that. Not to mention, because it's so balanced, because it's a Cayman, any driver can take advantage of its potential. It is the sweet spot in the lineup. All of the power, none of the drawbacks, the perfect combination of precision, aggression, and refinement, and a wildly fun to drive package. But what we really learned was that we honestly can't say we would regret owning any one of these cars because of the other. They all stand for themselves and hold their own in your heart. Honestly, my favorite out there of these three might just be the one that I'm driving in that moment. And that really means something. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more of our content, hit that like button, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.